Hello over there. So in this section of the Appmint tutorial series, we're going to be talking about website publishing from testing to deployment. So in the previous section, we talked about how to test your website to ensure that everything is working fine. Then in this particular section, we're going to be taking a look at some of the steps that you need to take before you can deploy your website online. So without much further ado, let's get started. Right, so the first thing that you need to do is that you need to do the final website review. So this can be done by the cross browser testing, whereby you test your website on Google Chrome if everything is working fine. Then the second one is testing your website on Firefox. So just like since your website visitor is going to be using your website on different browsers. So after testing your website on Google Chrome, then the next part is to test it on Firefox or Safari or Edge, depending on the browser that your site visitor is going to use. So then the next part of the final review testing is going to be the responsive testing, whereby you verify that your website is working fine on phones, tablets, and desktop. So although these have been covered in the previous section, but it's also important that you do a final website review. The next part is doing the performance analysis. So the performance analysis is where you check how much time it takes your website to load. And finally, when it comes to the final website review, so you do the bug fixing, whereby you address the remaining errors on your website. So when you're done with that, the next step is choosing the right hosting plan for your website. So when it comes to website hosting, you have different hosting plans. You have the shared hosting, the VPS hosting, the dedicated hosting, and the cloud hosting. So the hosting that you want to choose will determine the kind of website you are building will determine the hosting that you are going to actually choose. But when you are using Appmint to build your website, you don't need to worry about the hosting that you want to choose. As with the Appmint inbuilt website page editor, you already don't need to worry about the hosting plan. So, but if you want to go for hosting, so then these are the types of hosting that you can go for. When you have a small website, then you can go for the shared hosting. Shared hosting is whereby you share the website resources with other websites as well. Then you have the VPS hosting, which provide more resources for growing sites. That is, you anticipate that your website is going to continue growing, whether exponentially or subsequently. Then you can go for the VPS hosting. Then you also have the dedicated hosting, which gives you full control for high traffic sites. So if you are just starting your website and you're going to experience low traffic, then you don't need to go for the dedicated hosting. You are fine with the shared hosting. Then the final one is the cloud hosting, which provides scalable resources on demand. That is, as your website demand more resources, then you can easily scale using the cloud hosting. Now, after we are done with that part, is the next part is choosing a domain name for your website. So there are some strategies that you can actually make use of when picking a domain name for your website. So the first one is you should choose a domain name that is very short. So whereby you aim for 15 characters or less. So the shorter your domain name, the more memorable it is going to be for your website visitor to remember your domain name. Then the next part is to include keywords. So for instance, let's say your business is all about fashion. You can call it maybe Xenon fashion or Tram fashion or A2B fashion. So including the keywords in your business is going to make it sound relevant, especially when it comes to search engine optimization. Then the next part when it comes to domain selection strategy is to easy to spell. So there are domain names that when you are trying to pronounce it, they are kind of a little bit hard to spell. So avoid using numbers or IPs in your domain name so that it will be easier for your visitor to collect your domain name and also for them to be able to spell it for another person. Then the final part for the domain selection strategy is to consider TLD option. So TLD simply stands for top level domain name. And while there are a lot of TLD options that you can use with your domain name, you have the .com, you have the .com.ng if you are in Nigeria, you have the .co.uk if you are in the United Kingdom, and you have the .nl for the Netherlands. You have a variety of domain names, including .io, .net, .org, and likes. So depending on the type of website you are building, .com is actually the most preferable one. But if you are building something like a tech startup or a tech product, then you can use .io or .net, but usually .com is prepared. So when you're done choosing your domain name, then the next part is connecting your custom domain name. So after purchasing your domain, then you log into your domain registrar's control panel. So if you are buying your domain name from a third party, maybe something like Namecheap or Bluehost or GoDaddy, then you need to log into your domain registrar control panel. Then after logging into your domain registrar control panel, then configure the records. That is, you add the A records pointing to host IP address. For instance, if Appmint is your host that is hosting your website, then when you log into your domain name, you add a records that points your domain name to Appmint to host IP. Then after you've done that, then you test your domain name after something like 24 to 48 hours, because that is when the DNS propagation is going to take complete effect. So when you are done with that, then the final part is the deployment best practices. So the first thing is that you should back up your existing website. So when you're done with your website, ensure that you create a full backup before deployment. The reason for doing this is that in case something goes wrong, you always have a full backup to revert to. And the second part is to schedule domain load travel. So anytime you want to deploy changes to your website, always deploy when user impact is minimal. Sometimes maybe in the middle of the night or times when you notice that the website visitors are not going to be much. So then the final part is to verify post deployment. So if you deploy maybe a functionality or features to your website, you should also ensure that you are testing key features immediately after launch, so as to ensure that everything is working out as it's meant to be. So these are some of the best practices for final publishing and deployment. So in the next part, in the next point I'm going to show you, you are going to see how you can connect custom domain name to your website. So the next thing I'm going to do, this is my Appmint dashboard. So I'm going to click on here. So after clicking on here, I have a lot of options: the dashboard, the inbox, setup wizard, workspace, domain, and the like. So since what you want to do is to connect to domain name, so all you have to do is to click on domain. And after clicking on domain names, so here you have that you don't have any domain, so you can click on refresh. So since I did not have the domain name, that's why it's showing this. So I'm just going to refresh this page. So after refreshing the page, then I'm going to be presenting with the screen options for me to be able to connect domains. So when I click on domain, I'm going to click on buy domain. So then when I click on buy domain, I'm going to be presented with this box. So for this box, all I have to do is to search for a domain name. So in this case, let's say I'm going first Appmint website.com. So then you click on search. So you click on search rather, first Appmint website.com, and then you click on search. So if the domain name is going to be available, then you see something like it's available and you click on buy domain name. But if it's not available, let's say I'm buying something like this.com, which is already taken, and I click on search, it's going to say this has already been. You're going to see something like this red background, which means that the domain name has already been purchased. So with this, you'll be able to buy a domain name. And once you put your domain name, then it's actually easier to connect the domain name on Appmint. So I'm going to also be dropping a documentation on custom domain name, how to add a custom domain name on your website. So this is the documentation from the official Appmint website that shows you what the domain name is, how to buy and connect custom domain name to your Appmint website. So this is where we are going to be solving for this particular section, and I hope you have been enjoying everything so far. You have been learning about Appmint. So in the next section about Appmint, we are going to also be learning more about something interesting related to the Appmint website, the website that you built with Appmint. So until then, see you.